All right. Hey, this is going to be a response video to an interview that was conducted earlier this afternoon. Richard Gage of 9/11 Unleashed interviews Dave Von Kleist. Dave Von Kleist, or Kleist, is a co-producer of one of the very first 9/11 films, In Plain Sight, and also 9/11 Ripple Effect. But it's his former film, In Plain Sight, which is highly dubious. And many of the statements that are made in the film, prominent statements, are offered here in the interview. And what I'm going to be doing is, throughout the playing of this video, I'm going to be stopping at certain parts of the video and offer my thoughts and show where Dave Von Kleist is making a mistake or he's outright incorrect. I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm just going to play part of the interview. We're going to start the 39-minute mark, and it's over 2 hours, but I'm going to play from the 39-minute mark to about an hour and 15, maybe. So that's right about when questions and answers come about. So I'd say about 114, 115.
Yep.
So,
well, we've got, speaking of evidence, Dave, I mean, it's right here in your film. Let's watch a couple of these witnesses and analysts about this appendage underneath the plane.
Towards the front. It definitely did not look like a commercial plane.
The plane wasn't no airline or anything. It was a twin-engine, big gray plane.
When I first saw the appendage on Flight 175, this extra piece of equipment.
By the way, just for anyone, a reminder who Phil Jahan is. Phil Jahan is from Let's Roll Forums, and he basically, him and Brian Stavely and other people, they proposed that the World Trade Center was empty and that no planes were hijacked and that the jumpers were mannequins or dummies or something like that. Brian Stavely actually proposes that. So Phil Jahan, it's been well over, I don't know, 12, 13 years since I heard that name. Long time, but yeah, that's who he's using as a reference.
I was looking at the Evan Fairbanks footage, which is kind of bluish, and it's from the underneath. It's off-centered on the fuselage. It's between the engines. It casts its own shadow. It has its own reflection. And when I saw this, I thought somebody's had to have photoshopped this, and I wanted to get other sources to make sure that it wasn't just a product of Photoshop. It was in all the CNN footage when you took their videos and did freeze frames. It was definitely a three-dimensional piece of equipment. It definitely has nothing to do with Photoshop, and it shouldn't be there.
Let me explain what that is actually, because what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to blow up this photograph, right? This is Flight 175. It's a dark blue bottom, dark gray on top, right? See these white lines here? It's not an appendage. It's actually the light. Since the sun is rising in the east, which is on this side, here's the west. As you can see, this is the sun's reflection. You can see it here. You can see it here. You can see it here. Here. The sun's reflection is reflecting off the dark blue underbelly. That's all this is. You want a closer inspection? There is no appendage underneath. Nothing. It's all dark blue all the way through, except for these specks of light. Yeah. So let's go back.
Anybody can see the other piece of equipment right there in the center line on the starboard side of that fuselage. It can't be anything other than an external piece of equipment.
Looking for more video evidence, right at ground zero, Deb Simon and I went down to New York City one day and buying all the pictures from street vendors we could find. We found a picture, which I believe is Rob Howard's photograph, but it was a 35 millimeter print. And I was tickled because you could clearly see, the appendage on the bottom. This is not
There's no appendage. Not an appendage. The bottom of the airplane.
normal for an aircraft. This is not normal for what we should be seeing on Flight 175.
All the recorded sources, all the different photographic evidence that was produced by CNN and ABC, they all show this pod. It's there. You can see it with your own eyes. And in my professional opinion, that there was a pod attached to the bottom of that aircraft, and therefore it was not United Airlines Flight 175.
Interesting, right? So what I'm going to do is play a video for you. Here's 175. Now, in this angle, you can clearly see there's nothing underneath the plane. Right here. You don't see anything. Yeah, look, the engines, you could see. They're underneath the wings. There's no pod underneath this plane. Even nothing here on this angle. Or here. And you can still see the engines. Okay? Don't believe me?
First, it's small, and by the split seconds, it's getting larger and larger. Green color.
By the way, Stanley Pramet worked at Fiji Bank, 81st floor of the South Tower, when 175 impacted.
And as this plane got closer to me, I can see you on the tail. This plane is bearing down towards me, eye contact. As it's getting closer, I can hear that revving sound that the engine is making. And all I had time to do was to drop the phone, and I screamed and I says, "Lord, I can't do this. You take over." And I dove under my desk. And the last split second I can remember, the plane starts to tilt so that the span of the wings would cover a larger dimension. And with the most thunderous sounds I heard, bam, the plane crashed into the building.
Yeah, that's all he heard, was the plane crashing into the building. And as you could see for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, that if the pod was a missile or it was a bomb, Stanley Pramet would not be alive. The person who saved Stanley Pramet, Brian Clark, would not be alive. 11 people had managed to survive above the impact floor. They wouldn't be alive. And that's because there was no pod underneath this plane. There was no missile. There's no evidence to suggest this. And if that's the case, that Bill Jahan and Dave Von Kleist think that these planes were not the hijacked planes, what are they using as information to support this theory? A switch in midair? Well, what's the evidence for it? You have the convenience as a fringe conspiracy theorist to basically assert anything that is opposing the official narrative. And what's the official narrative to you? The official narrative to you is 4 planes were hijacked by 19 Arab men who hated our freedoms and commandeered those planes into the World Trade Center, North and South Tower, into the Pentagon, and into a field in Shanksville. And that's a microcosm of the story. That's not the whole story. So for you, the 9/11 Commission report is the story. And I will tell you that that's not even a real story. That's part of a story, but most of it's missing because they didn't use the whistleblower testimonies of Mark Rossini, NSA former senior executive Thomas Drake, or William Binney, or Kirk J. Wiebe, or from the FBI who worked at Alex Station, Mark Rossini, Doug Miller, Dan Coleman, Ed Getz. From the Defense Intelligence Agency, Anthony Schaefer, Eric Kleinsmith, Dr. Eileen Presser, so on. So there's a lot of people who had a lot of things to say about pre-9/11 intelligence, which was not reported in the 9/11 Commission report. So that would mean that it is an incomplete report, not the official one. There is no official story. There is no official narrative. There's only evidence and non-evidence. And that's what I'm interested in. I don't care about what you believe, Mr. Kleist. You're probably not even going to see this video. I'm trying to reach your audience, though. The audience that holds on to belief rather than knowledge. This video isn't made for people like Nelson Martins or Ryan Dawson or Sean and Darren and Ed Brotherton. This is for basically the audience of Richard Gage, the audience of Dave Von Kleist or Christopher Bolin or Rebecca Roth, people who fell victimized to belief, fringe conspiracy theories that defy rationale, like pods and eat planes. The error of your position, Dave, is that if the planes aren't hijacked, you basically absolved the CIA, the NSA, the Israeli Mossad, and the Saudi GID, the intelligence arm, from having foreknowledge, not even complicity, just foreknowledge. Why? Who were the CIA and NSA monitoring overseas? The hijackers. Who were the Israelis and Saudis monitoring inside the United States? The hijackers. If you don't believe in hijackers, none of these agencies and none of their operations exist. So that means you don't have to do your due diligence and do proper research and study into these hijackers, who they were, who was monitoring them, who they were, who was involved in those operations, who were their superiors, and who did they report to. You don't have to do any of that. So that's where the 9/11 truth problem lies. It lies in that one instance that planes cannot be hijacked, and that the truth movement will accept any theory, any group, any individual that proposes even the most outrageous of theories, ones that defy even common sense, because at least they oppose the official narrative. Well, that's not what any honest investigator would do, and that's not what any honest researcher would do. An investigator doesn't go to a crime scene and he doesn't say, well, I know what didn't happen here, and then claims, I don't know what happened, but I know what didn't happen. Can you imagine? There's your problem. You start off from a negative. And this happens with every fringe conspiracy theorist. Now, I'm not making fun of you because you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm not even making fun of you. All right. I'm a conspiracy theorist. You're a fringe conspiracy theorist. I can provide evidence for my beliefs and because it comes from knowledge. You don't have knowledge, and you admit this during the interview, that you know this is speculation, but you have a fallback option because you're basically saying, well, I'm just asking questions. No, you're pushing a narrative, because that's what you did in both of your films. You never said, hey, by the way, all of this is based on speculation. You never say that in the film.
You know, I've never seen the pictures that he's shown the things attached to the bottom of the plane. So I mean, if it's a commercial airliner, I don't understand why they would have anything attached to the bottom of the plane. That doesn't seem to make any sense.
And what it doesn't make, right, exactly, it doesn't make sense. And I'll tell you why. The plane itself is carrying 77,000 pounds of fuel. That's 10,900 gallons. In itself, it is a bomb. Why would you need an extra missile or a bomb underneath the plane? And then that means that you have to involve hundreds, maybe even thousands of more people involved with the state, local, and federal level, from the airline industry to eyewitnesses to regular employees of these airlines. All of these people would have to be involved now because you can't get over the fact that planes could be hijacked. Well, you don't have to involve anybody. Planes are hijacked by hijackers. All we need now is to have defense jets don't interfere. Oh, we can make up some exercises that we do annually anyway. We'll have them on September 11th. Now you don't have to involve anybody. You just have to involve the knowledge of certain people at high levels of government, especially in the Air Force, NORAD, needs, whatever. But if you're going to make a switch in the plane in midair, or you're going to have no hijackers anywhere on 9/11, these planes were CGI, now you involve so many people in the FAA, so many people at the NTSB, so many people in the FBI, so many people who are involved in search and rescue at Washington, in Shanksville, in New York City, that picked up plane debris and human remains. Now they all have to be in on it. You made the conspiracy even a bigger conspiracy within itself, when you didn't even have to do that.
One of the things that jumped out at me when I looked at the footage of the video of Flight 175 as it went into the World Trade Center is it appeared to me that there was something on the under fuselage of that aircraft that did not belong there, at least not with a commercial airliner. Now, I'll tell you where I have seen attachments that look like that on military aircraft. So the question you have to answer now is, was that the commercial airliner that hit the World Trade Center, or possibly was it an aircraft that looked very similar but was a military type airplane?
After compiling a lot of the
Imagine asserting this. Now, this film was made in 2005, so 17 years later, we're still talking about the validity of planes instead of the validity of intelligence agencies that might be involved with the hijackers prior to 9/11, years prior. Well, they haven't gotten to that point yet because they still can't get over the fact that planes could be hijacked by hijackers, or that they were even hijackers to begin with. No, we still got to be talking about pods underneath planes.
the photographs and a lot of video regarding Flight 175, and there's some CNN footage that shows the whole side of the plane lighting up. And just as the aircraft is penetrating the World Trade Center, there's this bright anomalous event. It's like an orange flash, off to the right of.
Yeah, right there. See that flash right there? That's called kinetic energy. This is what happens when you have mass with speed, because at this point it's 38 miles an hour, hitting into an object of mass. So when an object of mass is at a high rate of speed heading into an object of mass, you get kinetic energy, friction. That's what this is.
The fuselage.
The bottom of that aircraft was exposed so that there was a large flash just prior to impact with the building. There was a large flash, so large that it lit up the side of the fuselage of that aircraft. It wasn't just a small spark.
There's been some discussion.
This is kinetic energy. The tip of the plane has impacted the World Trade Center. Mind you, they're saying that this is actually a bomb or a missile or being shot, or this is when the missile goes off because it's impacting. How come
Discussion of
it disappears? What, suddenly the pod, the missile underneath the plane being shot, or still being attached underneath the plane, suddenly the explosion disappears. Fascinating. Just fascinating.
just exactly what produced this flash. Some of the
You gotta turn your microphone off.
have been reflection or sparks or static discharge.
Imagine believing this. Now, look, you have to jump through some hoops here because now you have to explain, okay, if this is indeed a missile or a bomb underneath this plane, and this is the beginning of the explosion, how come
or possibly incendiary attached to the
it
aircraft.
disappears? How come it disappears? Bombs, explosion disappear? I don't know. This is my main problem. Now, yeah, look, and this message is going to go out to Gene Laratondo. Gene, I have a soft spot for you. And yeah, I'll even admit, during the interview, I was getting a little bit angry because you guys basically want to say we're on the same side. No, we're not. I'm not on the same side as Dave Von Kleist. I would never, ever dare use speculation as a form of evidence. I will always use speculation when I have to explain something that could be a rational theory, but I'll never, ever use it as a form of evidence. And I'll always tell somebody when I do a video regarding any type of hypothesizing, I'll be careful enough to say, by the way, I'm going to hypothesize here. I'm going to speculate, right? I'm never going to say, well, take a look at the pictures. I mean, isn't that what you see? I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to allude to something that, I'm trying to pressure an audience member or a viewer into believing. I don't care about belief. I want my audience to know something, information, something tangible, because that's what you could go to court with. You can't go to court with this. Can you imagine going into a courtroom with this, saying that this is evidence that this is not Flight 175? And then you have to show evidence that all the phone calls were faked, that all the people who got phone calls were in on it, that all the people that were involved in collecting the data regarding phone calls, all the people that were on the planes that saw the people at the airports, including flight employees, they all have to be in on it. And you have to show evidence for that. You could say this in Gage's interview because he's never going to challenge you on this. If it was me questioning you, I would say, wait a minute, Dave, what is the undeniable evidence to show that there's a pod underneath this plane? By you saying, well, what do you see underneath that plane? That's irrelevant. I want to know what you know, not what you want me to believe. I want to know what you know. What do you know about this plane here? How do you know a pod's underneath this plane? I don't want to hear about speculation. What do you know? This is the reason why you basically said in the video during the interview that, oh, I'm just, giving thoughts here. You know what you're doing here. You're trying to let the viewer who doesn't know anything about 9/11 or has minimal information about 9/11, oh, take a look. Doesn't that look like a pod to you? You're alluding to the fact. And that's very disingenuous. Yeah, and by the way, Gene, look, I was a little bit rude in the comment section. You're right. But I'm heated that 21 years later, we still talking about this and not talking about, say, Alex Station, not talking about why the CIA withheld information from the FBI and the State Department that there were 2 Al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States. Both went on to hijack Flight 77. Why did they do that? And then when they were interviewed by the 9/11 Commission, 4 people from the CIA's counterterrorism unit, including Director George Tenet, the director, the chief of counterterrorism, Cofer Black, the chief at Alex Station, deputy chief of Alex Station, Tom Wilshire, the deputy of operations, James Pavitt, all gave conflicting information, different from each other. Let's talk about that. Hey, I got names. We can do something here. No, let's talk about pods underneath planes. Let's talk about missiles. Let's talk about things where there's no names, because you don't believe in hijackers. There's nobody on these planes. Who's controlling these planes? Well, Dov Zakheim, he has remote control of technology. So Dov Zakheim, really, how can we prove that? Where can we have definitive proof that Dov Zakheim was using or employing uninterruptible Boeing air pilot on these planes? Where can we show that these planes were swapped? Where can we show that these planes didn't have passengers on them? And what happened to the passengers? He can't explain any of this because there's no evidence for any of this.
This flash is produced in the shadow of the wing, so I don't think it could have been a reflection.
No, it's like I said, this is kinetic energy, friction. Ask a physicist.
As far as the possibility of sparks during penetration.
You know, and just because these people are pilots doesn't mean that they are mistaken, right? Glenn Stanish and the late Rob Balsamo, they don't believe any of the planes were hijacked. And that goes in the face of over hundreds and hundreds of people who worked in the airline industry who gave these hijackers boarding passes. So you rather believe one or two or three people from Pilots for 9/11 Truth over hundreds of people who were interviewed by the FBI. Memorandum for the records. Guess what? I have them uploaded to my channel. If I don't have all of them, but if you want to see all of them, scrib.com. This is why I'm heated, Gene Taratonda. You can understand that because you're heated yourself. This is where I have a commonality with you. Why I have a soft spot for you. You're heated at the fact that we can't get a new investigation. I'm with you. Guess what's in the way? Davon Kleist. These theories that are not based on anything. Guess what? I have evidence to show that the NSA and the CIA may have just had foreknowledge about 9/11 and that they covered it up. Nelson has evidence that there were additional hijacking on September 13th. The FBI covered that up. You know why we're not talking about this, Gene? It's because a good percentage of the truth movement don't even believe in hijackers. You can understand my frustration. You can understand why I'm doing these response videos. This is not for me. This is taking time out of my day in order to address these theories that should have been dead on the vine in 2005. 17 years later, and Richard Gage is interviewing people that haven't been relevant for 17 years. I interviewed the incident commander of the Pentagon, search and rescue, James Schwartz. He's a fire chief. Well, he's now retired from Arlington Fire County Department. He took over the incident command center at the Pentagon. I'm the only person in the 9/11 movement to interview him. Why? They've interviewed April Gallup. She wasn't even inside. She wasn't even outside the building. She was inside. And as for April Gallup not seeing any plane parts, well, guess what? In 2011, she sued American Airlines and Osama bin Laden. Why? Because she said, if the theories are out there are true, I got to look after my son because I'm a victim too. Gene, the problem is not with me. The problem isn't with Nelson. The problem isn't with anyone affiliated with us. The problem is in the truth movement. The problem is when people start purporting fringe conspiracy theories as fact, which mislead thousands and thousands of people. Times that after 21 years, we're talking millions.
The radome of the aircraft is a composite material. It's not metal per se. The wings are metal. They didn't produce sparks as they.
Okay. I'm not a physics major and I'm terrible at physics, but even I know that when you have mass, like a Boeing airliner is, fully loaded with kerosene, going 563 miles an hour, gaining speed. This is what kinetic energy is. Mass gaining speed, hitting into an object of greater mass is going to create heat. That's where you saw the heat source. And for Glenn Stanish and for late Rob Balsamo and I forgot the other guy who's the co-owner of Policy and Element Truth. You guys are a fringe minority. There are literally thousands of pilots, of people involved with FAA, affiliated, employed. Where's this big movement of pod people?
They penetrated. So I don't believe it was sparked.
Go sue American Airlines. Go sue United Airlines. Sue them. Sue them. Sue them because according to you, those weren't the planes. And that they're lying regarding these planes being destroyed because they shouldn't be decommissioned. Sue them. Get a lawyer to hear you out.
As far as the static discharge, the 767, all aircraft have attached to the airframe what's called static wicks that are there to dissipate any static charges that could be produced on an aircraft in flight. In all my years of flying, the only time an aircraft has been statically charged is when you're flying for extended periods in precipitation. September the 11th was a perfectly clear early fall day without any clouds in the sky, so I don't think these aircraft would have been statically charged by precipitation. And the other item, or possible explanation, would have been an incendiary. And I do believe that this is what the source of the flash was. This flash.
Yeah, the incendiary that suddenly disappeared. It disappeared. The flash that disappears. The incendiary that disappears. The missile, the bomb, the whatever.
Is produced right in line where the
No, that's not true. That's not true at all.
This flash is produced right in line where the
Yeah, no, it's not. It's right here. It didn't come from here. It started right here. It wasn't shooting out. Hey, didn't you say the appendage was on this side even? Right. He said that before. I'm not going to go that far back. The hell with it. Yeah, he showed that one guy's photo. I know, that's what he said. Let me see. I think it was right there. Right? Yeah, right here, right? Didn't he say that? Watch.
This flash is produced in the shadow of the wing, so I don't think it could have been a
It's supposed to be right here. That's what Avon Kleist was saying earlier. Now it's over here. They can't even get the story straight. Yeah, I believe that's what he said, right? I think it was right when he showed that Herkazaki photo.
And the thing is like I said, all I was doing is raising questions. I don't have answers. I was attacked by a Popular Mechanics magazine of all. You'll never know what it is. Odd person, you know, and so that all was all pushed to the side. It was I was attacked by a Popular Mechanics magazine of all things.
And I do believe that this is what the source of the flash was.
care what
this
you
flash is produced, it's attached.
I don't care what you believe.
Very interesting, don't you think? Turn your mic back on.
How about that?
There you go. Yeah,
I need you,
sound,
Dave.
the sound from the video was looping back through your microphone. So
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
I
no.
usually turn it down pretty good, but Dave, this is pretty extraordinary evidence here.
If that's extraordinary evidence, no wonder that you'll never sniff a courtroom. Now, you could say what you want about the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 inquiry, but you know for sure that they'll never use that as evidence, right? I mean, Mick Harrison is somebody that is the only one that I respect out of that group, right? The Lawyers Committee. So I don't know what you know, that's the face I make when you say that was extraordinary evidence, by the way. Yeah, that's not extraordinary evidence.
You've got these experts agreeing
Phil Jahan is not an expert.
that this is not a aberration of light or a reflection. In fact, there's one more expert we can talk about. I'll bring up the Amparo Sacristan Carrasco analysis of this pod in a moment, but tell us, you know, what do you imagine that this means?
Well, see, if I try to answer that question, I become a theorist. I leave that that conclusion to people who are better in a position to be able to make a judgment on that. But what I can say as a layman, as a regular guy, I mean, it appears that there's something attached to that plane.
See, you fool yourself. You said it appears something is attached to that plane. No, there was nothing attached to it. Look, if that was a bomb or a missile, Stanley Praman should not be alive. The plane impacted his floor. The only reason why he's alive because the plane tilted. That's it. He even exclaims, and you can look up his story, it's all over the place, that he saw part of the wing smash into the top of the roof. Brian Clark actually heard him screaming, and he basically rescued him. That story is well known. One of the most heart-rending stories of 9/11 is that. So that's just, you could look up his story. He talks about the wing of the plane crashing into the roof. If that was a missile or a pod, he's dead. Everybody on that floor is dead. But 11 people actually survived. So I don't understand that whole thought process of a bomb or a plane. Why would you need it? Again, why would you need a missile underneath a plane when the plane itself is a missile? It's holding 77,000 pounds of fuel.
Okay, I cannot and will not say that it's a missile. I will not say it's a laser gun. I won't say it's anything. And like I told you off air, I don't care if it's Pee Wee Herman strapped up there with duct tape. It ain't supposed to be there.
Okay, you're alluding to the fact, though. You've already alluded to it in your films. What does that look like to you? That looks like, to me, a bomb. I'm not saying it is, but you already have that thought. This is what they do, what lawyers do with juries, right? They'll say something, and then the judge will say, oh, retract it, something that's questionable to the case. But yeah, you could say that on record, but the thought process is in the juror's mind. You can't retract that. And that plays a part into a case, whether it does or doesn't. But you, Dave, that's what you're doing. I'm not saying it's a bomb or missile, but I'm alluding to it. That's exactly what you're doing.
Okay. And the simple fact that whatever it is, it appears to be attached to the plane is directly in line with the flash.
No, it's not.
Now, the flash, like I said, that's, to me, that's like extremely important because we have it.
And even, let's just say, even if that was the case, that's the bottom of the plane. It's going to line up to where the impact is. So I don't know. I can't believe people fall for it.
4 different angles on the South Tower, and you can see that flash. Like I said, one of those video clips clearly shows that the flash occurs not at the point of impact, and it shows that it happens.
Well, no, that's wrong. So you're wrong there. Yes, it does. And that was in the video that you showed.
Before the impact. You could see a reflection of the flash on the fuselage of the plane. And like I said, we've got 4 different angles of the same event on the South Tower. So once we saw those 4 different angles, so well, wait a second, let's go back to the footage of the first tower. And to that point, at that point, the only known footage was the Naudet brothers footage.
No, there's actually 3 videos that are out there of the North Tower plane impact. One on, let's say Brooklyn Bridge, maybe. I think that was it. It shows a guy in a car, Pavel Havla, maybe, that video. The Naudet brothers, and there's another one.
The fireman in the street, if you recall, and then, you know, the plane goes over and hits the North Tower and the guy's screaming, "Holy shit!" Okay. And if we took that video footage and slowed it down, and what do you know? It appears that there's a flash on the first tower hitting too, just before impact.
And we've got that clip inside of this clip, do we not?
No, you had it up there a little while ago. That's the Pentagon collapse, which you've got queued up there.
Sorry. I got it backwards. All right. Well,
yeah, let's see. You had the montage. We did is we took the original clips, we played them at their normal speed, and then we slowed it down to 2%, frame by frame, so that you could see it. Okay, and I know you got it there somewhere.
You have a lot of faith.
Well, you're like I am. You know, I'm not very adept at working my computer.
Is it?
Nope, that's not it.
What?
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did an analysis of La Vanguardia in Barcelona. They agreed that there was something appearing to be on the bottom of that plane.
Yeah, we're going to actually.
The pod could have been a number of things. It could have been.
Not the clip,
no,
where is that clip in Ripple Effect?
You know, I sent it to you separately. You had it pulled up there a minute ago.
It's not this one. After you made this film, and I'm going to find what we're looking for here. But tell us about your journey having made this film. Give me a little time here.
Well, like I said, I realized that I was probably the only, repository in the country that had access to all the footage. So that's why I came up with 9/11 Ripple Effect. Now, I got to back up a few years before the 9/11 attack. Joyce and I were the American Gulf War Veterans Association. After the first Gulf War, many vets came home very sick, exposed to chemical. Real time, we all saw this. Well, that went by quick. Okay, now here we are slowing it down, super slow-mo, 2% speed. Okay, and as you can see, there's a question of whether or not something's attached to the belly of the plane, but look to the right just before the nose hits. Here it comes. And, oh, what happened? It skipped.
Isn't that
before
something?
the nose hits. Here it comes. 2% speed.
It didn't.
Okay,
skip.
and as you can see, there's a question of whether or not something's attached to the belly of the plane, but look to the right just before the nose hits. Here it comes.
See, there's.
And.
Right. Let me back up just a little bit.
2% speed. Okay, and as you can see, There's a question on whether or not something's attached to the belly of the plane, but look to the right just before the nose hits. Here it comes.
Right. So,
And
all right, look, imagine thinking that an explosion suddenly disappears. If that's the impact of the bomb or the missile or shooting of it, where is it? Why isn't there an explosion right here? Where's their fire? Where's their smoke? Where is the initial explosion? That was it and it disappears? Imagine believing this. Look, even still now, right? This is when the plane is absorbed into the building and then blows up.
oh, what happened? It skipped.
No, it
It
didn't
jumped.
skip. Didn't skip.
Well, it's
friend.
playing.
It didn't
Oh,
skip.
that's your internet. I'm watching
Okay.
it
It didn't
real time on my side.
Okay, fine. All right, angle 2. Again, we look at it in real time, and it goes by so quickly. All right. Now we look at it, the same clip again at 2% speed. And again, look for the flash. The flash.
Right there. And then what happens to the flash? The flash is the initial point of explosion, which disappears.
Occurs just.
Have you ever seen anything like that? Now, here's the reality. Here's the object.
To the right of the contact point
Here's
of
the
the nose of
explosion.
the plane.
Right there. There's the explosion. That's enough of this nonsense.
Whatever the hell it is that we thought was attached to the belly of the plane. This requires our attention.
No, it doesn't. And that's the problem with people like you, is that you want to focus on something that's easily explained. Your position is easily explainable. There's no attachment underneath this plane. This is just kinetic energy, heat.
But this issue has been swept under the rug and ignored. And anybody like myself who brings this up was ridiculed and demonized and canceled and blah, 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 blah. Okay? I'm just asking the question. I don't know.
Okay, great. Bring this to United Airlines. Oh, no, they're in on it. They're going to cover it up. Bring it to a lawyer. Any lawyer, just bring it to a lawyer. Because lawyers will take any case. Bring it to a lawyer and say, here's part of the cover-up. That's not a plane. Good luck. That's the reason why you're singing on your couch.
I don't know what the hell that is. But whatever it is, it's not a box cutter.
That's being facetious, right? I mean, really, condescending as well, right? There's more evidence for that, and we didn't even see a box cutter. Because at least the phone calls on the planes mention that.
Now let's continue. Now,
wait a minute, you don't believe in actual phone calls. They're fake too.
Those are the 4 different clips that we had from the South Tower. Now
wait a minute. Let's just notice that in this view, it's clearly
let's go to the North Tower,
circle of light.
You guys we've grown on and on. It doesn't stop.
All seen this. Okay. Now this is interesting. Because if we want confirmation of whether or not there was a flash with the South Tower, we need to look at the North Tower. Here we go, 2%. I realize it's very fuzzy, but look for a flash. Watch the shadow come up from the bottom of the plane as it approaches the tower. There's a flash, and then the plane hits the tower.
No, that's
now. Are we sure that the flash happened before the hit? Let's look at it in reverse. You see the plane back out of the tower, frame by frame. Okay. And watch the shadow. When the shadow is clear, there it is, and there's the flash. So the flash happens before the plane hits the tower.
Yep.
At least that's my conclusion. Anybody else wants to do analysis, I'm open to it. Okay.
Yeah. It is a bigger flash.
This is why I'm saying this flash is extremely important. And to this point, in time, 20 years after the fact, it's only now
That's a
people are starting to pay
terribly
attention to
grainy
it.
video. Let's see if I can find a better one. That's really awful. What kind of video is that? Okay. Let's see if I have. Let me see if I can slow it down. All right. Sound. Did we see a flash? That's too freaking far. Too far. Too far. Too far. The heck with it.
Do it. I feel vindicated. Thank you very much. Seriously,
Yes.
Richard. I mean, you remember when did I meet you? What, 15 years ago? Remember we were in
Yeah.
Kansas City at the Uptown Theater.
Yep.
Yeah, it was you and me and Tex Mars and Joyce. Who else was there? I don't know, but this was something that I was screaming about back then, and nobody wanted to talk about it. So anyway, like I said, I feel vindicated now.
Vindicated
Yeah.
on a conspiracy channel, fringe conspiracy channel that promotes fringe conspiracies. You feel vindicated. Well, you should.
You
I mean, if this is the best you could do, Dave, then the 9/11 truth movement's a failure. The best you should do just like the Jersey Widows did. Force the government to make a commission. Did you come even close to that? How about even thinking of something like that? Probably not. So if you think that by going on Richard Gage and showing pictures and video of a plane crashing into the World Trade Center, and then claim that there were pods beneath these planes that are most likely bombs or missiles, and you feel vindicated,
You've
Wow.
done the work here.
that's
We just
sad.
don't know what to make of it, so we sort of put it on the shelf. I mean, it although it seems to be among the body of evidence that suggests that these planes were not civilian aircraft.
And what evidence are you using to suggest that, great Mr. Gage? Because heaven forbid, if you make that decision and say that, oh, I was wrong. It was Flight 11 that crashed in the North Tower. It was 175 that crashed in South Tower. You know what would happen to you? What would happen to David Chandler, Wayne Costi, and Ken Jenkins? They would be ruthlessly attacked, maliciously alienated from the movement they helped to build.
But Dave, if you don't know what happened to the passengers, then you shouldn't be showing this evidence.
I heard that one so many times. All right, well, here's an analogy for you, okay? And because I get that all the time, where are the passengers? What happened?
Right, you would have to if you're saying these aren't the passenger planes, you would have to give an explanation for that. Otherwise, how can you theorize that these planes were not the passenger planes?
Happened to those people? If you
Listen to his analogy, by the way.
you can't tell me where those people went, and you're lying, you're this and you're that. Wait a second. Let's say that you're in New York City and you're going to put a loved one on a bus to Boston. So you take them to the Greyhound bus terminal, you put them on a Greyhound bus, you wave goodbye to them as they leave the Greyhound bus terminal off on its Greyhound way to Boston. Well, a few hours later, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news bulletin. A Greyhound bus skidded out of control as it entered the city of Boston, exploded, and all were killed. Oh my God, that's terrible. If you have a loved one on that Greyhound bus, you want to know what happened. Well, lo and behold, shortly afterwards, somebody shows up with a video of the actual crash, but this bus says Trailways.
Now, this is a silly analogy because the planes were visibly United Airlines. I mean, you could see that in the video. You could see that in the pictures, right? Not only that, you would have to provide evidence to show that these planes weren't United Airlines planes. You have yet to do that. In fact, you can't. So you're only going to say that these aren't the planes because what looks to be, appears to be pods underneath planes. And you haven't shown that as evidence either. And you even admit that your position is based on nothing more than your imagination. I mean, you didn't say it outright like that, but basically you said, yeah, this is a theory. No, it's not. That's not even a workable theory. You have to have evidence for a theory.
Wait a minute. Where'd the Greyhound bus go? I don't know. Where'd those people go? I don't know. But the video shows a Trailways bus.
Right, and the video shows an United Airlines plane. Clearly. Dark gray on top, dark blue on the bottom. United Airlines. Radar suggests that was the plane. In fact, I even played audio of New York Center relaying to other pilots to get out of the way of United Airlines Flight 175. In fact, let me play that. I'm going to play that for you, just for the people in this, for Davon Kleist, of people that don't believe hijack planes and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is look for that audio and okay. So Boston Center contacted 175 to see if they could spot American 11, right? And they do. However, their last transmission was 11 minutes in. Now, okay. This is going to be where you can hear it. So this is New York Center frantically calling all aircraft out of United 175's erratic path. Oh, I'm sorry, it's on slow still because I wanted to show that. Okay, so give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Delta 2315. Delta 2315, turn left immediately to a heading of 200. Turn immediately, 200, don't point. Roger, traffic, 1 o'clock, 10 miles, turning into your face, descending out of 31. It's a hijacked aircraft. We don't know what he's doing. 2315. US Air 542, turn left, heading 200. 200, yes. 50, Mike Juliet, maintain flight level 210. Delta 2315, the traffic is now at your, if you're heading on the 200 heading, it's about your 2 o'clock and about 7, looks like 30.6 descending. Now we have him in sight, sir. Delta 2315, roger.
So there you go. That's New York Center identifying 175 and warning other planes to get out of the way. And unless you're willing to say that that's fake too, then be my guest.
No, this is why I'm saying these people who say, well, if you don't know what happened to those passengers, what's wrong with your brain? Look at the video footage, you know, and
Yeah, look at the video. It doesn't show any pod underneath the plane.
something is screaming that what we were told is wrong. What we were told is a lie.
What you're promoting is wrong. What you're promoting is wrong. What you're asserting is wrong. It's not based on anything. What you appear to be on, what appears to be underneath 175 is nothing more than the fuselage, dark blue fuselage.
Video footage. Use your brain. Think for yourself. You know, and this is, you know, we get this all the time. You know, all the time. So if they say, if you don't know where the passengers are, then shut up.
Yep.
Okie dokie. You know, cheers. Have a cup of coffee.
Exactly. Now let's look at this before we move on. This is a Spanish photographer.
Fast forward is boring.
Oh dear.
Now, it's not like I'm trying to censor myself. I interviewed Dr. Andrew Kaufman. I interviewed Dr. Rashid Battar.
Discoveries first.
Well, first of all, Dr. Rashid Battar is not a doctor. He's not a virologist. I think he's a herbal doctor or something like that, who got his license revoked in North Carolina.
Okay, I just touched upon that. Coincidentally, I just mentioned that. No,
I'm gonna play
9/11.
the part where I think David Chandler asked a question. I didn't see the question in the YouTube comments. They're talking about the Pentagon. Let's see if I could find it.
You know, because they were dovetailing with what I had just done. So, and had just come out with 9/11 in plain sight, and came out. His was the video.
Effect is usually seen as a bright flash of light. Can we?
90% of the, not William Lewis, William Rodriguez. Because
Oh,
whatever
the
happened
Pentagon.
at the Pentagon. Dots. We are live.
Okay, yeah,
There
hold
we go.
on. Let me.
Because
Oh, at the
whatever happened at
Pentagon.
the Pentagon, again, the event occurred, what was it, at 9:32, I think it was, something like that. Whatever hit the Pentagon at that time. So firefighters and first responders got.
He's a no-planer. Whatever hit the Pentagon. Oh, it could be a missile dressed as a plane, or a drone outfit to look like a plane. That's a plane. No, it's a drone. A plane is a plane. When I say no-planer, I'm talking about people who don't believe in actual commercial airliners. Not drones, not missiles, dressed up to look like planes. Can you imagine people believe that? Oh, it was a missile shot to the Pentagon. The missile that nobody saw. And not only that, you're going to shoot a missile into the one building in the world where they could discern a plane from a missile.
Got there. Videographers were there.
Okay, folks, watch.
Look. Yeah, look at this. This video footage is the actual collapse that didn't happen until 32 minutes, or I'm sorry, 28 minutes after the event. You can go ahead and let it go. It's only 5 seconds. Here you go.
Here we go.
Carefully. Remember, we were told that a plane slammed into the Pentagon and created that big hole we saw the photographs of. How do you explain this right here? That's the collapse that didn't occur till 28 minutes after the event.
Yeah, it's called the plane impacted the first floor of the Pentagon, leveling out all the columns. And then the weight of the structure bear down and it collapsed. Easily explained.
Put your thinking caps on, folks. Connect the dots. We are live.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. In fact, let's connect the dots, right? Because why would I want to listen to you, right? Why would I want to listen to you? Because you weren't there. Why don't we hear from people who were actually there.
And what did you see?
I saw it was an American Airlines 757, and it came in and hit the heliport, came down Columbia Pike and hit the heliport next to the Pentagon. I live in an apartment building on that side of the Pentagon, and it just crashed right into.
We were on Columbia Pike where the shelter is, and all of a sudden you can hear the noise coming first, and then you can feel the shaking of the building, and we just looked up out of the window, and I saw the tail end go.
What size plane?
It was for me, it looked like a big size plane. It was definitely a passenger.
In traffic on Route 110 on my way to work. I work across the street, and it was an American Airlines plane that came in and hit the Pentagon. I believe it was a 737. I could be mistaken. It might have been a 707, but it was definitely a commercial plane.
Coming in to the Pentagon this morning, identify yourself and tell us what you saw.
My name is Ed Hudson. I was coming to work at the Navy Annex. I was passing by Fort Myer, and I saw a large airliner-sized plane, roughly a 767-sized airliner. Very deep descent, approaching the Pentagon. As I didn't actually see the impact, but I did see, hear the blast, and saw the smoke rising from the crash.
Officer Faust give out the broadcast that he saw a plane that just crashed. At that time, we immediately left the station and responded down here to the Pentagon. We arrived within minutes after the crash over here at the south parking lot.
That distinctive silver finish, in our minds, it was definitely an American Airlines aircraft. And as he moved to our 11 o'clock position, he started his turn, and by the time he got to our 12 o'clock position, right out the front of the aircraft, he was rolled up into about, I would estimate, 30 to 40 degrees of bank, which is considerable for a commercial airline. And then all of a sudden we saw this big explosion. And I keyed the mic again and said, Washington, this is Gopher 06. That airplane has hit the west side of the Pentagon.
I came over my house and right down Columbia Pike. Just like a plane that was about to land and flying over, but this plane was in full speed.
I saw it. There's just no question at all that the plane went into the Pentagon wall.
What I saw was a jumbo jet hit the Pentagon. The end.
It's like these guys are going around saying that no plane hit the Pentagon and it flew over.
I know. I'm aware of that. And that's what I'm saying. They don't care about the truth.
There I saw it over the gas. Go. All right. So I'm going to listen to the people who were actually there over somebody who is sitting on his couch with a guitar. If anybody here is watching this, anybody who is from that Richard Gage website, anybody, who are you going to believe? The people that were there or that guy? Plane hit the Pentagon. I don't need a video to see it. I could just listen to the eyewitnesses, and there were over 100 of them. Not only that, you also had physical evidence of the plane outside the lawn, inside the Pentagon A&E drive, up against the wall, the C ring.
Right there. That's all you really need. I'm sure you've all seen the photographs that were taken at the Pentagon before the collapse. We've all seen them.
Yes.
The guy standing there with his hands on his hips, looking right at the Pentagon, and the collapse had not occurred yet. And when you look at the surrounding area, there's nothing on the lawn. There is a hole on the first floor, approximately 16 feet.
Okay, let's look at that, right? 16 feet wide. That's what he's saying is the hole, right? So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to show you a photograph. This is Chris Sarn's photograph. I can't take credit for it. This is before the collapse of the roof line, right? Here's the impact on the second floor. 18 feet. Here's the first floor, 141 feet. Here to there. This is the impact damage where the roof hit. You can see nothing's there. This is the wing damage. You can see it. Wing damage. Smoke covering over here. This is not 16 feet. Thierry Mason wrote a book called Pentagon, where this area was covered by fire foam from this truck. Only this was showing. He then went on to say that this was the first floor. 18 feet, not 16. He did that on purpose because he didn't show you this. This is not 16 feet. And Davon Kleist, after 21 years, is still promoting this doesn't exist. It's this. This is the first floor. I don't need to show you anything anymore after that. I mean, whatever he says on this subject is nullified by his own ignorance.
But I mean, we're talking about a commercial airliner. We're talking about a huge piece of equipment with landing gear, titanium engines.
Yep.
How does a plane go into a 16-foot hole?
It doesn't, because it never was 16 feet. Funny, because I just played a number of eyewitness reports that saw the plane crash in the Pentagon. Again, why do we listen to you?
Now, some people will come out and say, oh, well, there are witnesses and witnesses and witnesses. Okay, let's put the witness issue aside for now.
Why should we put them aside? Because they go against your narrative, right? So that's why I played that, because when I saw this, boy, was I smiling. And I was trying to write in the comments, well, that's convenient of you. Let's put eyewitnesses to the side. You know, the people who saw the plane, let's put that to the side. Right there should tell you everything about this guy.
Just look at the video and photographic evidence.
Yeah, let's look at the photographic evidence, right? Let's do that. Let's do that. Why don't we do that? I think that's a great idea, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at photographic evidence. Okay? Let's do that. Here's a guy picking up a piece of the plane. Oh, look, a piece of the plane. Oh, look, a piece of the plane noticeably on the lawn that you say doesn't exist. Here's a generator. There you go. That's without, look at that. 16 feet, by the way. 16 feet. Let's see. Oh, look, a piece of the plane. Landing gear inside the Pentagon. Look, piece of the plane. Turbofan of the engine. Landing gear outside of A&E drive. Oh, look. Piece of the plane. Look, this guy's walking around with a piece of plane up against the wall. So look, plenty of evidence suggesting plane debris. Plenty of evidence coming from eyewitness testimony suggesting that the plane impacted the Pentagon.
And I don't care what witnesses say for the same reasons I mentioned.
I don't care what eyewitnesses say in this regard. Why? Because they contradict your narrative. Your narrative is anything other than a plane hitting the Pentagon. Can't believe it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Even in contrast to all the evidence I just showed you just now. And that's not even nowhere near anything. And while Richard Gage will interview this guy, I'll interview me, a nobody, and I am a nobody. I'll interview the incident commander of the Pentagon, James Schwartz. Go visit my podcast. Oh, he's part of the official narrative. I don't believe a word he says. Well, then you have a narrative. Your narrative is, by any means necessary, will I not believe a plane hit the Pentagon? That's not my problem. That's yours. I'm trying to help you get out of that mindset by producing evidence contrary to what he's saying. Doesn't take much. And whether it's for him or Christopher Bolin or Rebecca Roth or Jim Fetzer, Thierry Mason, Alex Jones, CITT, Loose Change, Jason Burmis, anyone, it wouldn't take more than 5 minutes to show them they're wrong.
Before, witnesses can be wrong, they can be misled, they can be lying.
Sure, and you have to prove all that. I want you to show me the eyewitnesses I provided that were either they were lying, they were coerced, or they're misinformed. I would suggest that you are a great candidate for all three, or one of the three.
They can be paid off. I don't know. I look at the photographic and video evidence and say, what the hell?
Right. I just showed you photographs of plane debris. I just showed you video of audio and video testimony of people who saw the plane crash in the Pentagon. Now, what are you going to do? Ball's in your court. And I think I can end it there. Right? That's it. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to show contradictory evidence against Davon Kleist's many erroneous assertions and theories that are based on nothing more than his imagination. And unless the truth movement starts speaking out against these people, you're going to be stuck here for the next 20 years on forward. Have a good night, guys.